Continue to look at ways to invest together and make sure that Canada continues to be an important and valuable partner for your investments.
At the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland.
What a pleasure to sit down with David.
Justin Trudeau met with more than half a dozen CEOs to send a clear message. Despite an uncertain future for NAFTA, Canada's doors are open for business.
What a pleasure to meet again.
Katie Simpson has more on the Prime Minister's message to American investors and NAFTA negotiations.
Half a world away from the NAFTA negotiating table, saving the trade pact was top of mind for the Prime Minister.
We just had a great conversation about all the jobs in Canada and the U.S. that rely on NAFTA.
When Justin Trudeau met with American business leaders today in Davos, he urged them to speak out in favor of the deal at home. But Trudeau is being criticized for his overseas NAFTA outreach. Wilbur Ross, Donald Trump's influential Commerce Secretary, accused the Prime Minister of using his high-profile speech yesterday to up the pressure on the Americans at the negotiating table.
We'll continue to talk about the benefits of trade. We've been talking about that since we came into office.
Talking continued into the evening in Montreal, where NAFTA delegations had a second long day. Chief negotiators are wading into some of the most difficult subjects, with Canada presenting some suggestions on how to move past the current roadblocks.
I absolutely expect the Americans to be flexible, because the expectation is that Canada and Mexico are going to be creative and go through a real intellectual exercise on how to make this work.
Ottawa has presented ideas on how compromise could be found on Washington's proposals to radically alter the auto sector, introduce a sunset clause to the deal, and dismantle the dispute resolution process. But all of these efforts may be for naught.
It's not a question of if the USA administration will invoke the 6-month notice to terminate NAFTA. It's a matter of when.
Perry Bellegarde is the second member of Canada's NAFTA Advisory Council in a week to predict an American pullout. Right now, the best case scenario here in Montreal for Canada and Mexico would be seeing signs of flexibility from the U.S. But if there isn't a move toward common ground, it will only make tensions worse. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Montreal.
Tomorrow at the World Economic Forum, all eyes will be on Donald Trump, who left tonight for Switzerland. The U.S. president plans on using the summit, which is seen as a celebration of globalization and free trade, to promote his America First protectionist policy. Our Chris O'Neill-Yates shows us just how that Trump policy could spell the end of forestry for one Newfoundland community.
In Corner Brook, people can set their clocks to the sound of the steam whistle at Corner Brook Pulp and Paper.
My 8-year-old says it's 4 o'clock. So it's very much part of the community beyond the economics.
But the economics of the mill have real estate developer Trina Burden very concerned about this city of 20,000. This subdivision she started 4 years ago is way behind schedule because of an already sluggish housing market. Now Burden is worried that Donald Trump's protectionist policies will mean trouble for Western Newfoundland's biggest industry.
The Trump dialogue it's all over. And the way I felt like I was going to be able to survive it is just sort of say, he can't affect me. But now it's staring you right in the face.
Tariffs of more than $8 million a year are being levied on this mill, cutting into its profits and putting it in potential danger of closing. The U.S. claims in part that a $10 million loan the provincial government gave to Kruger, the mill's owners, in 2014, amounts to a subsidy.
There was no subsidy given to Corner Brook Pulp and Paper.
Then Premier Tom Marshall says the money was a loan and that the company agreed to pay it back with interest. And Kruger put up its power company, a $200 million asset, as collateral.
If they default in payment of principal and interest, the government could take the power plant, sell it, and pay the taxpayers back the amount of the loan.
300 people work in the mill, and hundreds of loggers cut the wood that is trucked here every day.
We got members now in approximately 50 small communities, because not all based just in Corner Brook. If that mill goes, then so goes the forest industry in Newfoundland, you know.
The mill whistle heralds the end of another day. How many more, though? That's the big question in this pulp and paper town. Chris O'Neill-Yates, CBC News, Corner Brook, Newfoundland.